Good morning. Today I wanted to talk about concentration. So we've been talking about the paramitas over time with some other things woven in as well. And I was particularly thinking about concentration, I think because it's so hard to do right now with so much going on in our world. So I'd like to talk a bit about the teachings on concentration and how that is and how we can practice that. And then I'd like to make sure to leave time for us to talk about the ways that we struggle with concentration, particularly, again, as I mentioned, just having so many things to pull us away at this moment in time. So concentration is the fifth of the six perfections. We've been talking about them for the past couple of months. The first is generosity. The second is ethics, patience. Last week we talked, or 2 weeks ago, we talked about perseverance, continuing. And there's meditation, which is meditative concentration. And then wisdom is the sixth. So the Buddhist monk Shantideva said, having cultivated perseverance in that way, place the mind in meditative concentration. The mind that is distracted remains within the fangs of afflictions. So I particularly like this imagery, the fangs of afflictions. That's sort of what it feels like, right? We have these things that pull us away and they feel like they get their fangs into us and they actually pull. So all of these paramitas work together with each other. We can't separate out one or another. And I think here, especially here in the West, we have sort of a perception that we can go straight into the sixth perfection, which is wisdom. And we want to skip over all the rest. And it's simply not possible. They're completely dependent on each other. So the idea that we can have some kind of a, magical experience and then all of those things that we, again, skipped over are going to magically fall into place is not going to happen. We have to work at this. And we have to work at all of them. We have to practice generosity in our everyday life. Generosity in the ways that I described, generosity of the Dharma, generosity of freedom from fear, and generosity of giving material goods. We have to practice living an ethical lifestyle and following the precepts. We have to practice patience and really taking the out breath and not wanting everything to happen already. We have to practice perseverance, continually coming back. And we do this in our sitting practice, of course, all the time. When we have thoughts and our mind wanders, we come back. When we have things that are really difficult, they pull us away and we come back. And the more we do this, the more we come back, the more we're able to do it. And it's the same way in our life, If we find it challenging to practice, then sometimes we need a little extra energy to push ourselves in that direction. And sometimes we can get that energy by practicing with others. So the more we show up for practice, the more we can just do it on a regular basis, the easier it becomes. And then there it is for us when we really are having a hard time and it's not so accessible. But it does take effort to do that. And that's something I want to emphasize. It takes a will and a vow, and it takes effort, and it takes the help of others. As I've said many times, there's so many days where we feel like, I just can't do this today. I can't get out of bed. I have too much going on, or I'm too busy, or I'm too sad, or I don't want to see all those people. And those are the days where we can let others carry us a bit. And the days where we feel like, I'm having a great day today. Everything's going well. I'm not so keen. I'd rather go outside and play. We can cultivate the intention to show up for the benefit of others. And in this way, we can really learn to depend on the Sangha. We don't have to do this on our own. Concentration, again, is something that I think people want to skip over. And so in my teacher's teaching, and in the way that I learned practice, it's something that we really focus on, especially in the early days of practice. And we in particular do that by following the breath. So when we first start sitting, we're taught to count the breaths. So we're taught the posture, of course. How do we do this? How do we put our body in place? How do we position ourselves and find our balance? And learn how to hold our eyes, learn how to hold our hands. So we learn the physical, the body practice, and then we're taught to count the breaths. So what we do is we count the breaths, starting at 1. And, it's not rigid, but it's something like 1 breath, 1 count. So 1, 2, 3, and then on up to 10. And then we can start over at 1 again. So as you all know, what actually usually happens is in the very beginning, it's like 1. Oh, my leg hurts. Oh. And then we start again. 1. Oh, this is really hard. Oh, 1. And then after a while, we can get up to 3. 1, 2. Wow, I finally got up to 1. And in doing this, we're really training ourselves to be able to concentrate. We're able to bring the mind back, and we're able to focus. And as we learn how to concentrate, our body learns how to concentrate, because we can't concentrate only by thinking about it. As we keep coming back to the breath, our mind also lines up and our body lines up. And so as we do that, our body very naturally learns to breathe from the lower belly. And this is why I say, yes, we breathe from the lower belly, but don't shove your breath down there. Encourage it and allow it to come from your lower belly. Your body will naturally teach itself. And your concentration will increase as your body naturally teaches itself. And as your body naturally teaches itself, your concentration will increase. So we need to learn how to really focus so that we can do this practice for a lifetime, and so that we can have access to the other aspects of practice. If our mind is constantly distracted, then we're not able to be fully in the present moment. So we have to train ourselves to do this. And it doesn't happen instantly. It takes some diligence and some perseverance. Keep coming back to it. Keep coming back to it. And the more we keep coming back to it, the more we develop the habit energy of just doing it. We notice some days our mind is quite active. On this day, my mind is not so active. And we learn that that's all part of the process. Active, not active, not active. It's the coming back and the being present that's the most important. When the Buddha reached his final, when the Buddha was enlightened, sitting under the Bodhi tree, he mentioned concentration. He said with his mind concentrated, purified, bright, unblemished, rid of imperfection, malleable, wieldy, steady, attained, unperturbed. He finally saw clearly. It's this mind of concentration, the ability to really focus and to be present, fully present in this moment, that sustains us over time and that allows us to wake up. So I can't stress enough how important it is to really develop concentration. And again, not to want to skip over and think, well, as soon as I develop wisdom, then the concentration will naturally come in. So, it will in some ways, but then when we really need the focus, it's simply not there for us to rely on. So we really need that base and that grounding in order to grow in our practice over time. We need the ability to come back, to return over and over without it being a thing, without thinking about it, and without worrying about it or making it an issue. So this is concentration. Concentration has two main functions. When we're very concentrated, there's a mental ease that comes in, and even a bliss, a mental, and they go together, body and mind. So our body sort of automatically sinks and finds its way, that it's going to be fully present. And all of the thoughts of, oh, my leg here, my arm here, what am I going to do? My ankle hurts a little bit. Oh, this itch is coming in. Those start to ease. And also our mind starts to ease. So this is mental and physical ease or bliss. And also the other function is concentration that lets us attain the qualities of clarity in our practice. When we're less pulled this way and that way by all the stuff that comes up, then we have more clarity. This is concentration. So in the teachings of Kamala Shila and the commentary on them by His Holiness the Dalai Lama, I thought he puts it out very nicely. So I received these teachings of Kamala Shila in the stages of meditation from Yangtze Rinpoche, and in 2013 I received the oral transmission of these. So I'll just let you know the Dalai Lama's commentary on it. So the intelligent practitioner seeks concentration by first gaining a proper understanding of the view. Such a person focuses on emptiness as the object of meditation and aims to actualize calm abiding in this way. Calm abiding is concentration or stilling. This is difficult. So this is what many of us in Zen do. We want to have an understanding of emptiness without also the concentrated mind. Others use the mind itself as the object in their quest for calm abiding. The meditator, in fact, focuses on clarity and awareness, which is a way for the mind to focus on itself. This is not an easy task either. Initially, a practitioner needs to identify awareness as an actual experience. The mind then focuses on that feeling with the help of mindfulness. Mind is mysterious and has myriad appearances. I really love that. Mind is mysterious and has myriad appearances. It cannot be identified in the way that external objects can. It has no shape, no form, no color. This mere, clear awareness is of the nature of experience and feeling. It is something like colored water. Although the water is not of the same nature as the color, so long as they are mixed, the true color of the water is not obvious. Similarly, the mind does not have the nature of external objects like physical forms and so forth. However, the mind is so habituated to following the five senses: eyes, ears, nose, tongue, thought, touch, that it becomes almost indistinguishable from the physical form, shape, color, and so forth. In this context, the mode of meditation is to deliberately stop all kinds of thoughts and perceptions. To deliberately stop all kinds of thoughts and perceptions. You start by restraining the mind from following the senses. And this should be followed by stopping the mind that reflects on the feelings. Focus the mind on its present and natural state without letting it become preoccupied with memories of the past or the future. Through such a process, the mind's true color, so to speak, will gradually dawn on the practitioner. When the mind is free from all kinds of thoughts and concepts, suddenly a form of vacuity will appear. The meditator tries to gain familiarity with that vacuity. The clarity of consciousness will naturally become more obvious. Will naturally become more obvious. So we do have to intentionally still our thoughts. This is one side of the equation. And I'm not going to make it quite that simple. We can also go over to the other side and get really too harsh on ourselves. I must stop these thoughts. The teacher Harada Roshi once told a story about a friend of his he was trying so hard that he eventually broke his tooth from concentrating. So he broke a tooth. So I would encourage you to find a balance. Really do exert that extra energy towards stilling your thoughts. But please don't break your tooth in the process. This is too tight. And the Buddha taught, just like tuning the strings of the lute, the Buddha taught to Venerable Soma to make a beautiful and harmonious sound. We have to tune the strings so that they're not too tight and not too loose. And this is our concentration. A few things hold us back from concentration. Of course, just not practicing, and laziness of mind, laziness of body can hold us back. Sometimes we sit down and we're just like, all right, well, anyway, I have a lot to do today. Let me make a mental list. All right, so first thing I have to do is I need to send out that email, but this is a kind of laziness when we let ourselves get really lax and don't have the focus. Another thing that holds us back is simply forgetting what we're meditating about. So I think we've done that too. We're sitting, we're focusing on the breath, we're really focused, and it becomes very clean. And then the next thing you know, your mind is back in third grade to that time, when that girl said something to you and you didn't respond so well. And what was going on anyway? And yeah, what was her name? I forgot. That's losing the object of our practice. So wherever we are, wherever we find ourselves on that, that's where we stop, and without judgment. And I'll say that again, without judgment, come back. The next thing that holds us back can be mental excitement or mental dullness. Mental dullness is also sometimes called mental sinking. So I'll start with excitement. Excitement is where the things that we're thinking about are really juicy and fun to think about. And they just just sink their teeth into us. And we like it, we enjoy thinking about it. And so we get kind of revved up by it. So we get excited. And mental dullness is on the flip side of that, or mental sinking. These are the times where we're practicing and kind of like, we're settling in and we've been practicing. And for me, this especially will happen in the afternoons, especially when it's warm. Like you're like, oh yeah, you're just sitting, and then you have no idea what you're doing. Somehow your mind just got so dull that you just are there. Like you're not really thinking, but you're also not actively practicing. And we can easily mistake this for something that we want to do. But if you examine it carefully, you'll see that you're not focused. That just bleh of not thinking is not the same as a concentrated non-thinking. So this is mental sinking or mental dullness. And all of these can pull us away from concentration. The other things that hold us back are simply not applying the practice when we get into these states. So we have to really believe in the practice. We believe this through seeing examples of people doing it. We have to be interested. We have to keep going, like I've said many times. We have to continue. We have to be malleable. The Zen teacher Aoyama Roshi always teaches us that monks and nuns should be like water. We should adapt to the circumstance that we're in. We should be malleable. We should be pliable. Of course, mindfulness, really being conscientious of our body state, our emotions, our feelings, our mind states, and just a conscientiousness. We have to keep coming back. We have to let go of what we don't need and really remember the teachings. This is how we do it. We have teachings, but we have to take them in. We can't just be like, I heard that story and yeah, I get it. Now I'm just going to do this. Because we can get really far off that way. So we have to bring those in as well. Because this is how we really become diligent. I was thinking a lot about concentration and the things that have helped me over time. And I would say one thing is simply learning that it's not about attaining some perfect state. It's not about that one magical day where everything falls away. It's about cultivating the ability to do this for a lifetime of practice. Cultivating the ability to keep coming back, keep coming back, keep coming back. And another thing that really helped me was eating in Japan. And in particular, at one monastery where I was, you have to follow the pacing of the head monk in everything, really, but definitely through the food. And this particular head monk was a very fast eater. He didn't eat that much, and he ate really fast. And my position in the monastery was at the low end of the hierarchy. So I was always the last to get stuff. So I'm going to use my cup as an example. So in particular, I also don't eat fast, and I'm not Japanese. I mean, I do use chopsticks pretty easily now, but I'm not Japanese. I did not grow up using chopsticks, and doing things like eating rice porridge with chopsticks were often challenging for me. So one thing that really helped me with my concentration was the miso soup. So imagine that this is miso soup. As I would get my food and try to eat it as quickly as I could and stay focused, I had a little mantra running through my head that would say, do not become complacent. Do not become complacent. Because I felt that the second I become complacent, the miso soup would just drop. And I had this image of it just falling on me. Do not become complacent. This really kept me sharp. And so doing that in an embodied way through the eating practice was very helpful, coming back to my sitting practice. Do not become complacent. If I became complacent, then I would miss one of the steps in the ritual form of eating. And then I would hold everybody back, or I would drop my rice, or I would, be the last one to finish. So I had to really learn a very focused concentration and to think of absolutely nothing other than food in the mouth, chewing, swallowing, food in the mouth, chewing, swallowing, eating. That was it. The second I thought, after lunch, I'm going to have to go and get my lunch. Oh, man. And then the whole works are messed up. So that was really helpful for me. So I think we can find ways in our physical bodies to develop concentration too that really help us in our sitting practice. And in my sitting practice, just doing it over time has really taught me how to concentrate. Just doing it and doing it and doing it. Because you know what? There's a time where you just get bored with your own story. It's the same stories over and over and over and over. And they are not interesting. You've seen them, you've been through them, you lived it. It probably wasn't even fun. And why do we have to see it over? And it just gets so boring. And on the flip side of that, as I mentioned, when we are concentrated, we have a kind of ease that comes in, an ease of body and an ease of mind that has a blissful quality. And having experienced both sides of that, it's very clear which side is more beneficial. So that's also a way that we can learn to apply that effort to become concentrated. Again, not so much effort that we break a tooth, but definitely more effort than sitting there wondering what's on our phone, wondering what's for dinner, planning out our day in advance. So this is concentration. Very basic, very important aspect of practice. If we can develop concentration through our practice, it will benefit us in every single aspect of our lives. We can't skip over this. We have to continually come back to it and do it and do it. We can just learn to focus. So this is what I wanted to say today on concentration. Oh, thank you for listening.